I'd welcome everybody to the regular meeting for July, the Claymont School Board. Can we have roll call?
Mr. Cottrell?
Here.
Mrs. Grandison?
Here.
Mrs. Host? Here. Mr. Miles?
Here.
Mrs. Wolf?
Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No public participation.
We're going to administrative reports.
Already were on start.
CA. No report. OC.
Yeah, I do have a couple of things. So enrollment at Buckeye as of Friday, we're at 1,104 students, which this time last year we were at 928. So that's a nice jump. I asked for the breakdown for Claymont. I haven't got that yet. I just asked for it today. So, but I will keep you guys up on that. The Career Center partnered with Kent State and received 2 grants. One was through Omega and one was through the United States Department of Labor for $135,000. So we're getting a water jet cutting system, which will be kind of cool to see that in action, an aluminum welder, and 5 robots. So it's going to be kind of cool. The only other thing is we do have U.S. Congressman Troy Balderson that will be visiting Buckeye Career Center on August 31st. So that's a good thing as well. So that's all I got.
Now, I just kind of give the House Bill 33 key highlights. It's in your board packet for the school funding as far as how it impacted us. School funding would continue with their cost inputs for fiscal year 2022, and it continued to phase in. So when this originally started the conversation back around January with Governor DeWine, he was looking at fiscal year 2018, but they have put in fiscal year 2020 numbers for teacher wage. Some things that they provided $500,000 to conduct an economic disadvantage cost study. So I kind of highlighted some of these items because the economic disadvantage has changed and continues to go as far as which kind of impacted our CEP for us for this coming year. One big change is the development of education and workforce, the DO. Basically, that's transferring most of the power from the Ohio Department of Education to the Department of Education and Workforce, and it'll be a cabinet director and 2 deputy directors. When it's all said and done, my understanding is the state superintendent will be in charge of ethics and licensures, and that would be the only role that they will have. Voucher systems, we've had presentations on voucher systems as how they would impact us. The vouchers are at $826 million over the biennium, and they increased that by 76.7%. So a voucher is available for a family of 4 that makes $135,000. So that's 450% of the poverty level. So those vouchers could impact, at this point in time, we don't have a lot of families using those vouchers, but other schools do, and that would impact them as well. But they did put in there, they require a growth measure. So that is kind of like leveling the playing field with public education, where in the private sector with the community schools, they don't have the testing that we do. So that is one positive, and that they have to annually report that growth. The 3rd grade guarantee is still in existence. They maintain that retention, but parents in consultation with the reading teacher and principal, and if they agree, they can promote that child onto the next grade level with intervention services. I will say we probably this past year have had the most retentions from kindergarten through 2nd grade because teachers have taken a look at the expectations of that next grade level and have chosen to say, wait a minute, this child's not ready. So we have had some retentions for this past coming school year. There is the alignment with the science of reading. There's a research that goes with the science of reading, is that reading should be taught a certain specific way. And it goes back to phonemic awareness and how you sound out words. So that is one thing that we're ahead of the game in that aspect means, because we have Wharton Gillingham, Hagerty. We have had our past second and third grade teachers have been trained in letters, and we have it scheduled for this year. So we're ahead of that aspect compared to some other school systems. Public transportation, they're looking to, one big thing I did highlight is the driver flexibility pathway, to create a pathway for drivers to work in educational aids and monitors. But one thing, as far as if they could reduce the, not necessarily the requirements, but the timeline that it gets to become a bus driver, that would be very helpful. And if we do not, they do have consequences for if we cannot bus our students. And so we would lose funding under the old rule. They would give you a 10-day grace period, and if you couldn't continue to bus, I know Columbus City had some issues where they didn't have any drivers and they just didn't transport their kids to school. So they were cited and had some money taken from them. And now there's a phase in, but when you don't have drivers, that's the route that they were having to go. Educators grade band, currently it is preschool 3. For the old timers, it could be K1 or 1-8 and then 7-12. Now it's preschool 3, 4-9, and then you get 7-12. So now they're changing those grade bands to pre-K to 8 and 6-12. And then they're also making it permanent. Once this becomes in law in 90 days, you can hire substitutes with a without a bachelor's degree. So you can hire them with a high school diploma for your substitutes. There is a line item on your agenda to allow that to continue off the last law that they passed with that. Did increase the minimum salary to $35,000 for teachers, that starting salary from $30,000. And the one thing is kind of interesting, as far as I sat through a meeting a couple weeks ago with Grow Your Own program, it would be an apprenticeship, because there is a shortage and we do have positions that are still, we don't have candidates. You could hire substitutes without a bachelor's degree, and it would become an internship program. And so that is something that's in the works for trying to curb the teacher shortage. And then just kind of one thing that I just highlight, it requires public schools that enrolls girls in grades 6 through 12 to provide feminine hygiene products for those students. So that would mean, and within our buildings for our students, there would be those hygiene products available for them as they go to the restroom. And the last one that I'll highlight is seizure plans, which we've done anyway. But if a student has seizures, we have to develop a plan and require them to have training in case there is a seizure and how they would deal with that. In your packet, I also highlighted for you what we would receive in changes over the course of these 2 years. Fiscal year 23 to 24, it would be $478,124. And then change in fiscal year 24, 25, $273,532 for a complete difference of $751,656. Compared to some of our local districts over that 2-year period, like Dover City would be getting $3,716,493. You know, compared to Garaway would be getting $15,300. So it kind of goes back to your local capacity, that what you can pay for your education. Indian Valley would get $16,311. So as you kind of scroll through there, so you can see it's all over between almost $4 million to New Philly getting 2.2. So, but it is a phase in. This is year 3 and 4 of a 6-year phase in for school funding. And this is something that if those have been around long enough in education to know that back in 90, 96, the Dolrolf case, that schools weren't equally funded. And this is the closest that has come to that point. So any questions on that House bill? And that was just key highlights from how it impacted our school.
I just wanted to add an update that I did not have in my operations report. I had a long meeting today with at Diversified with the contractors on the 3 different projects, just going over all the last details. And our HVAC equipment is going to be late coming in. So they have a date of July 28th, but it's kind of like, it'll be here when it gets here type of thing. And they cannot finish putting the ceilings in because those go above the ceilings until those are installed. It's going to take them about 4 days to install. That affects the Trenton location and the Eastport location. So we discussed really when some of the people would be coming in. I think our biggest issue is more at the Trenton location, just because we tore apart the existing office. So I'm just kind of, once the Nick gets here, we got to come up with maybe some plans. I would say, Kelly, maybe don't move your office quite yet if you want air conditioning.
It looks like she already did.
You're moved, okay. So, well, or even just some temporary setup of sitting in some air conditioning, one room, or not air conditioning, another room. You can choose, but so we're moving forward, putting the floors in, doing all the other things, the grid, so they can get the sprinklers in. But those HVAC units are the long lead time. So doors, I know you're pricing everything kind of boarded up. The doors and things are supposed to be here the end of July. So those were probably the 2 longest lead time things. But other than that, no issues. And we'll probably just need to apply for like a temporary occupancy since it's not completely done to get sign off. But what we discussed is really the life safety issues, making sure the sprinklers work, the fire alarms are in, all of those things that would be, if we were inspected, they would say no to if we didn't have that done. And then there would just be that open ceiling grid where those units go. So that's just an update I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of. And then I think other than that, all of the other projects we have going are coming along okay. So, okay, thanks.
Board discussion.
Well, I placed food service program on as far as a discussion item so we can understand that in your update I sent last week regarding also setting food prices. We are sitting, and we've had discussion regarding it, we were sitting at 34.78% and needing 40% to be eligible for CEP. That would mean that everybody would eat free for lunch and breakfast. We're below the threshold for that. So we're at the point now where we'd have to set prices for this coming year. And it's been recommended that those prices be set, which is in our agenda and which I had sent you in an update. Within my understanding, within a year, we could potentially be looking back at those numbers and for the 24-25 school year, and then apply for the CEP program again. But right now, the way the numbers are for this coming year, we do not qualify, and those numbers may lower for the threshold instead of 40% to a lower number, but at this point it has not yet been determined. So a household who has 4 children or 4 in a household has a yearly income $55,500 would qualify for assistance for our food. A family that, or household that has 8, has $93,536, and each additional person, $9,509. So those are the new numbers that have come out as far as who would qualify for free reduced. This is something I just got today from Andrea.
And if I can add, I
Yes.
believe in House Bill 33 too, they also added that anybody that's free or reduced will receive free.
That's correct.
So it'll just be the full pay that would have to pay.
So there won't be a reduced.
There won't be a reduced.
According
If
to
they
the
qualify
House
for
bill.
reduced, it will be free.
I didn't understand that when I seen that in the bill. I thought, what does that mean?
So I would say that by that, I would have to figure that the state is going to give the compensation of reimbursement for making that statement then.
Yes. That's the way I understood it too, that they would reimburse us
For everybody that's reduced.
free and
to be
reduced.
Reduced and free, would get compensated, not, you wouldn't get half of the
Right.
reduced rate, okay. Didn't spell it out. And they haven't changed the threshold, the percentage.
I
To
have not seen
qualify?
that.
No, as far as the threshold of the numbers I just gave is what we have here. So if you qualify within those numbers, if you have 1 in your household and it's $26,973 is what you make, you would qualify for assistance.
And they're still using EBT card as they.
Direct serve,
Okay.
yes.
So they were talking about possibly using the medical card, but that didn't go through.
Not to my knowledge.
Well, I know the state of Ohio is, they're one of the states that are piloting the Medicaid or Medicare program. Because I just had to set Andrea up. There's a different way that she's going to have to view SNAP and stuff like that.
They're trying to, what, no, I'm not, I'll be speaking out. But anyway, the way I'm under the impression is they're looking at, there's a different threshold to get Medicaid health benefits than there is SNAP benefits. So you have to have a little lower for SNAP, you can get medical a little higher. So I was under the impression that they were going to start looking at who was eligible for a Medicaid card for health benefits and using that as the number to determine eligibility for free lunches. So if they would do that, I have to assume, being a nurse in the area, I'd have to assume that more people are eligible for a Medicaid card, but aren't eligible for an EBT card.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the highlights that Kim Bowler from Nutrition Group had, but she said that wouldn't affect us until next year's
Okay,
numbers.
I didn't know when they were going to do it. I know that they sent out a
They're
paper.
piloting this year, but this year's numbers won't carry over because they
They're
look
wanting to
back
look at-
a year or so.
They're wanting to
look
look
back,
at
yeah.
to see
Yeah.
how many. But I do know that there's more people eligible for health benefits than
Than
is
direct
eligible.
serve.
Yeah, it's eligible for food service or food benefits. They have a different criteria, so you can get health benefits. So if that would be the case, we probably would then, if they base it on that, we probably would be eligible for free lunch. I'm thinking our school, because we would have higher than 40%. I'd have to assume. That's at all functions. So hopefully we'll do that. You say they're piloting. I've been reading some stuff about it.
But the suggested prices were $1.50 for breakfast and $3 for lunch.
Is that at all schools?
Yes. And I had a breakdown of all the extra add-ons if they wanted those, like baked chips for $1.
Okay, and then our students have a code or something when they go in the cafeteria. So if whether I'm a free lunch or whatever I am, I just code my code in and little Johnny behind me
Doesn't know if you were free, reduced, or full pay.
And the money has to be, what if a student does not have money on their books and it comes lunchtime? Is it just go into a negative balance? And then they say get lunch, and then at the end of the semester or the 9 weeks or whatever, do you get, how do you do that?
Typically, where I've had where there has been pay, so every day there'll go home and charge negative balance code, so parents would know every day.
So you get it like an email or something like, what I was wondering is that since everybody's been used to it being free, now we're gonna have, people have to start putting money on the books, and somebody doesn't, like, at the beginning of the school year, how quickly do we know who's free and who's reduced? So that on day one, who's getting fed and who's not? I mean, you know what I mean? Or are you just at a negative?
From my past, as far as, once the forms get turned in, it usually takes a couple of days turnaround for those to get processed with the, as far as approval. That's from my past experience. Usually if you were, my past experience, if whatever you were the year before, until your forms are completed, you'll stay as what you were.
Bless you.
Bless you. So if I was full pay and then my parents, one of them lost a job and they turned their forms in, but takes them a month, you'd be looking at paying, but it's dependent upon it.
Do we set like a limit? I mean, I don't want us to.
Be getting so far behind that they can't catch up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, do we set a limit that they can only go so far in the day? I don't remember.
I mean, good point.
For so long, I don't remember what it's been.
It's previously, yeah, it was some, my previous district, they said it, like 5 or 10 for them to have their money.
$3 a month, that's
If you go in if you set it at 10, then you can at least eat 3 times.
Yeah. And then you would offer them an alternative.
They'd have something to eat, then they're still in the hole, but it wouldn't be the full lunch. It would be an entree and a milk.
Something that qualifies as a.
What's the number for a student for the year?
You're talking to the food bank.
What does it cost? What does it cost?
Oh, it's gonna give it to everybody.
A year?
If they ate every day,
Yeah.
and they were $3 for lunch,
Yeah, what's that?
You're $15 a week,
Yeah.
$60 a month. Oh, yeah, and then breakfast is separate if we can't figure that one out.
you're looking about $534 just for lunch for the year, approximately.
And it goes on how many kids you have. So if I have 3, like I had 3 kids. $45 a week, that's just me and Joe.
That is if you don't qualify for reduced.
So, and it goes on how many kids are in the
How
house.
many kids are in the house and their yearly income,
Is it household or kids in school?
household size. So there's 5 in your family and you make under $65,000, you're qualifying for reduced food.
And so basically, it's the responsibility, placing a little bit of responsibility on the parent to make sure that they meet these guidelines, and these guidelines will be given to them. So if day one, I don't meet the guidelines.
Yeah.
And then my husband or one of us become unemployed, or
Then they turn it,
then
they
I can
paperwork in.
immediately call the school principal or whatever and say, we're having issues with, I want parents to know that there's an alternative, available.
How are we communicating with families?
Well, we'll probably have to pass this.
There will
Pass
be,
this
once
through.
it's passed, and then information will go out to the families regarding our lunch pricing. And then also the forms are on the online portal. Before there was online, the forms would always go home first day of school and parents would fill them out and complete them and send them back. But there would have to be something that would go out saying, here are our lunch forms. There's no free for everybody. Please fill out the forms if you feel that you qualify for free reduced lunch and breakfast.
Does that also include like the waiver for school fees? Is that all
That's your,
combined like it used to be?
that's
Like
your
before,
SNAP.
they used to fill out the waiver form. And then that included, that was the designation for whether they were free or reduced. Is that still similar? Is that form?
Similar, it would go back to your direct serve as far as your qualification for that.
So probably if you're free lunch, the odds are you're probably hit the criteria.
Right. I know we had a decline in them filling out those forms when it was free for everybody. So more parents may apply now that they know it's gonna affect breakfast and lunch.
Correct.
Yeah, so this is.
So our percentage may go up if they are.
But I think unfortunately, it's a snapshot like in the spring. So it's not gonna do, that would do no good for, I mean, you know what I mean?
They don't reevaluate midway
You
year,
know, I think it's in the
It's just-
spring
spring only.
for the next year.
What we've been working.
Correct, it would be to evaluate for 24-25. They evaluate our numbers springtime
Right.
to see if we would qualify for CEP then. Basically, we have no recourse this year but to set prices.
But if they do fill out the forms,
Then they
for us
can.
having to pay, then you would have those numbers for them.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
That would help
And
us
they
in the
can
long run.
qualify for this school year, yeah.
So we'll just have to educate our parents and remind them that they need to fill out. I will educate at the food pantry and tell them to make sure they fill out their food.
That's all online, right?
It's all online.
It's all online, yes.
Can you make an all call?
And
Well,
even if, like Lois said, even at the food pantry, if we had a pamphlet or a sheet we could throw in when we're packing that food, that could go in the cars with them too. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Especially in the month of August,
yeah,
when it gets close to school, to remind people to make sure they fill out their forms.
because if they went online now and started filling it out, then it'd be one less thing they have to worry about when school starts and their kid getting fed.
We'll see about maybe getting some food for the parents that don't qualify for free or reduced lunches that are having difficulty, maybe some bucket foods or something like that at the pantry. Discuss that. Just to give some
Option.
options, or maybe have some options.
Is these prices at cost price or is the school not making?
I don't think we're making any profit at all.
Right.
We're just churning, whatever we can get it for, we sell it for. And it's got based off our reimbursements come
The
back.
prices aren't bad. I mean, basically, if you go to McDonald's, like.
I ate at Hardee's the other day, a regular size sandwich, fries and drink was small and it's cost me $10. And I didn't have anybody with me.
If you look at the line, McDonald's and Hardee's.
Yeah.
I pack every day too.
Yeah.
$3, I mean,
It's not my budget.
That's why I pack my lunch every day. I pack my lunch for work every day.
But yeah, we're not
it's just,
Right.
we were
charging
lucky.
more than what we need to charge, so.
We were just fortunate that we've been able to get that right on. I do want to bring up, so we're talking about food, if everybody, make sure they're aware that, our school, because we had free lunch, all our students were eligible for $120 worth of, their EBT card, their food card. So everybody got a load this summer, $120. So if you threw that little card away, like some parents did, you can recall and get it reissued. And don't throw it away for later in case there would be a, I did get something email, but you might want to, for the parents that, anybody knows any parents, it loaded in the end of June, and it's a one-time load. Somebody was curious if it was going to be a multi-load. It's a one-time load for all students in our district. but none of the seniors. So if you have a senior, then they weren't eligible for the summer benefit.
I got it.
Oh, did some of you get it?
Marley
Oh.
didn't get it. So mine was good.
It could be age related too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, she's 18.
Could be age related, because somebody else said that, and I didn't check Corey's up. Because he's 17. Could be age related, because last year Craig got it, and he was not 17, he was only 17.
That's how mine was too, I think.
That was just a FYI for parents out there. Is there any other items for board discussion?
Oh, just over last meeting, or regular meeting, our last discussion on the contracts, an individual emailed the Board of Education in regards of their contract. Has anyone had a discussion with them regarding that email?
I don't know. I don't know who that was, so.
I think we discussed that in executive session. Is that our contract, folks? Is that what we're not talking about?
No.
So okay, that would fall under executive session. Sorry. Is there anything else for board discussion? Okay. Do we have any board addendums, corrections, additions?
Do we have an executive session on here?
You can, I did not put one on here. You can add one
Do you
at
want
the end.
to add get my answered?
We can tack it on at the end with no action after.
Any additions or corrections? Any items to be pulled separately?
I just have a quick question, but it's under, it was about the emails that I sent you earlier. Am I missing where we posted the online /math position?
It was posted, yeah.
I couldn't find it today in any of the postings. I think that's why I was so confused as to if it was two positions or what.
I don't know. I'll have to go back through
I don't think it's in-
emails and see where
I don't think
it
it's in
was,
there.
but it is posted, yes. I don't know whether you actually got it yourself or not, but it is posted.
Separate, the online /math and then
Yes.
the math.
Yes.
Okay,
If you go to the school board's website, it's on there.
on there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did you see it? I'm the same way. Felt like I was there.
Once I see it on the side.
Oh, it is, yeah, it is posted online. No, that's why. I just, far back it was, you had to go. You had to go back 10 days. Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, that could be, I didn't see it ours. So the date. So that
We go on to the treasurer's report. Kim?
So we finish out the month of June and the fiscal year of '23. And as that works, pull that up for you guys to see. General fund revenues, we finished the year at 99.55% of what was forecasted. The unrestricted, restricted secret was a little bit lower than forecasted, 98.45 and 99.63. And the interest income, we did finish at $313,840. So compared to last fiscal year that we only brought in $17,000, that was nice. Yeah. So overall revenues were up 2.98 over the last fiscal year. And then for our expenditures, we finished at 100.06% of the forecast, 84.32% of these with salaries and benefits. The supply still went over budget by 4.71%, even after I had increased them. And overall expenditures were up 8.29% over the last fiscal year. I think the biggest percentage was in that materials and supplies, so inflation hits everything. Fiscal year to date, total revenues 22.2 million, with total expenses just under 22.1 million. We did have a June deficit of 887,547, which we did have 3 payrolls that went out in June. But we ended the fiscal year with a surplus of $159,461 with 121.173 days cash. We didn't have any activity for June for ESSER 2 because all that money is wrapped up in the roof that hasn't gotten to start yet over there. So as soon as we get that started, which should be this month, we'll finish out ESSER 2 monies. ESSER 3, we had some curriculum, social studies curriculum, and then paying for the project management and the building entrances totaled $166,124. Outstanding purchase orders of a little over $2 million. And I do have a balance of $433,774 of the ESSER 3 balance, which we have budgeted in wages, benefits, and capital outlays right now. For June, I did project cash requests for almost $351,000 to be reimbursed by the state and federal for grants, which ended our total fund balances for the fiscal year then at a little over $8.4 million. Questions over any of that information? Ever have any questions? A motion to. Yeah, so we need a motion to approve the financial report for June, the payment of bills for June. I had the regular board minutes of June 12th and the special board meeting of June 29th. I had mentioned to you guys I was doing the holiday in July, and then it was stated August in the agenda last week, but I really want to do it in July because that's the increase in insurance costs. I want to do it when they get their increase in pay, so that's why I want to move it back to July, so that there will be no premiums for them in July. And then start the new school year off with school change funds for the middle school concession stand, and then we got the tickets, sales, and then I also added a new $100 to keep here at the office because now we're offering the fingerprinting here for the community. So we've asked them to bring in cash or money orders. So I just want to make sure we have cash here if we need to. So that's what that's for.
Can I make a motion to accept the treasurer's reports and recommendations?
Second.
Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Cottrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison? Yes. And Mrs. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay, ready? Motion and second for the following items. We have a couple resignations at the conclusion of the 22-23 school year. Tricia Copeland as 4th grade teacher, and then Julie Rotruck as gifted coordinator and gifted teacher. With Mrs. Copeland's resignation, we would have the reinstatement from the RIF list for Haley Puntany as a 4th grade teacher. Haley would have a 3-year contract, and she is at master's step 5. We have, as far as the 1-year limited contract for David White, he has 6 years experience, a bachelor's 15. He is math certified, so currently we have 2 math openings. So it'll be a position that he's pending his credentialing and for his licensures. Approved the Immaculate Conception, their auxiliary funds. They were hiring 2 folks. Gina Newland ditto at 29 hours per week at $28 an hour. And when school's in session, her salary won't exceed $29,000. And then Jill Marzaski, 29 hours per week at $29 an hour and not to exceed $30,000 from the auxiliary funds. We have extended service for some individuals for next year. Sydney Burns with FFA, Kristen Trimmer, and Stephanie Crone at high school guidance for 10, and Susan Monticelli for 5. We have a resignation of Brennan Shaver as junior high football coach. As I said earlier in the House Bill 33, but House Bill 538 for substitute flexibility allows us to start the year with people who do not have their bachelor's degree until that 33 becomes law, so we passed those. We have a couple coaches for Jeff Merklin as an assistant for girls basketball, and then Zach Jones for junior high football. And that we still have a vacancy for junior high football, even with hiring Zach tonight. And then food prices, as I said, listed there, breakfast would be $1.50 and lunch is $3. Milk was 65 cents. So all those prices that would go there for us for this year. And also we have a couple preferred subs that will pay at $115 a day. Kennedy Beckley, Brenda Metzger, and Samantha Dorland. And I'm still working on trying to find at least one more permanent sub for us for next year. And trying to find, we have a teacher out on, will be out on sick leave first 9 weeks. So we still need to find that to fill yet too.
We still have the intervention position as well, right?
And that one's still too, yep. Well, that'll be with Mr. White. So motion and a second or discussion.
I make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendations.
Roll call. Mrs. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. Grandison? Yes. Mr. Cottrell?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mrs. Fluor?
Yes.
Do we have any new business?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for personnel.
I'll second.
With no action.
No action.
Mrs. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Cottrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison? Yes. Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mrs. Fluor?
Yes.
Yeah.
6:14 PM.
Thank you. Okay, and we're out at what time?
7:09.
7:09. Okay. Motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
Next scheduled meeting is
August 14th.
August 14th at 5:30. And then we have special meeting for our strategic planning on the 17th at 5:30.
All right.
Have a wonderful work.